All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Angelo Carlos podcast. This is episode number 2 with my friend Ryan. He is a consultant at Accenture, which is one of the largest consulting firms here in the world. He's worked across several projects. Right now, he's working on an SAP implementation for his client. And then, Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself? Talk about what you do at Accenture, and then let's talk about also kind of like your background here. I know you're an MBA at UCLA, correct?
Yep. You're my classmate. I'm currently pursuing my, part-time MBA program, MBA at UCLA. I transitioned into being a management consultant at Accenture in May 2022 when I was, starting in the program. And my area of practice is under Industry X, which kind of revolves around product development and engineering. And my specialty is intelligent asset management. So anything from maintenance processing to condition monitoring to predictive analytics, preventative maintenance. That's kind of my area of specialty. And, kind of like you were saying, I come from an industry background. So my actual bachelor's degree was from UCLA as a bachelor's of science in chemical engineering. So I guess, where I started my career, my first job out of college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. My third year, I did an internship at a company called Air Products, which was a hydrogen production facility down in Long Beach, where I learned a lot about, just kind of working in industrial settings, right? So, first thing you do is you put on your PPE. So you get your nomads, exactly, your fire retardant suit, your steel-toed boots. You got your goggles, your hard hat, and there you go. You're out in the field inspecting pipe, inspecting instrumentation, working with rotating equipment. So I got some really good exposure into learning what a hydrogen plant is. How is hydrogen being produced? How is it being used in an industrial setting? So with that background, after I graduated, of course, the economy at the time wasn't super great, especially in the energy industry, especially in California, right? California wasn't going to be building new refineries in the year 2015. For me, at the time, I pivoted to I got a position as a semiconductor engineer down in a company in San Diego, in North County, San Diego. So moved, LA kid, grew up in LA, moved down to San Diego for about a year and worked in kind of wafer processing. So any type of semiconductor processing techniques such as electroplating, photoresist development, wet etching and dry etching, anything that had to do with, producing these developmental wafers that kind of form like a 3D LED type of device. So, that was a lot of really valuable lab experience working with chemicals, highly corrosive chemicals, which was required in the process. But I kept thinking back to the time that I was at Air Products, working in the industrial setting. And I felt, that my studies in chemical engineering had a lot more to do with working in, these big industrial settings. So, around the end of 2017, 2 years out of college, I made another career pivot and got really lucky and landed a job as a startup and commissioning engineer at a company called Technip FMC, which was located in Claremont, California. So moved back to LA area, and Technip actually really kind of gave me my first break in terms of giving me really challenging and meaningful work. All the way from designing hydrogen plants actually sitting in the HazOps, right? So we're going over with the client all of the design conditions, all of the process engineering parameters, the electrical instrumentation, the mechanical equipment, and then actually going out there as a startup commissioning engineer from, actually laying down the pipe, the construction workers putting together the pipe according to the civil drawings, all the way to, actually starting up the equipment. So function testing, logic testing, kind of doing the cause and effect, making sure the process control systems are working well. And for me, as a early mid-20s engineer, it was my first time kind of getting hands-on experience out in the field, being able to lead a team of, electricians or pipe fitters, and, get a little bit more of that leadership and management experience, working with teams of, anywhere between 8 to 15, executing these tasks under a project deadline for different clients, right?
What was it like being in the field? Because being in the field is completely different from being in the office. You're exposed to different types of workers, as well as a different type of kind of project deadlines and outcomes. So what was it like being in the field for you?
Right. So first of all, it's incredibly eye-opening because I consider myself as a pretty adaptable person. I was born in China. I came to the U.S. when I was 8, so I'm a very observant when it comes to just like, okay, I'm in a new setting. I need to understand, how these people operate. And it was kind of similar like that as a startup commissioning engineer because, I'm working for many different clients. Like a company like Chevron would probably not operate the same way as a company like a small mom and pop shop kind of refinery where they only have one asset. So and you're going all across the U.S., right? So my first assignment was in rural Montana.
Wow.
Where there's a lot of the people there haven't really seen too many Asian people. It's like 95% white, maybe 4% Hispanic and black, and then you got some guys at Walmart that are Asian, right? So that was definitely eye-opening, and it takes a little bit of time to adjust to, but what I found to be really important, or the most, important lesson that I learned is, as kind of like the project lead, you have to be able to unite everyone to make sure that, we're all aligned on the same goal.
Correct.
And, communicate, just kind of your project management skills, but also be able to speak their language as well, right? A lot of these guys are, kind of blue collar workers. They are pipe fitters. They are electricians. They're not your typical college educated engineers. And, you can't come in with a mindset where, okay, I got this fancy chemical engineering degree from UCLA. I understand how all of these, engineering principles work, and here you go. You need to go do this, because that's really not going to fly well with them, right? These guys are, very, very experienced. They've been out in the field. They've worked on real systems, and a lot of the things you design in the office typically don't work like that in the field, in real life, right? You design it to the best of your capabilities, but once you're there, that's where the person who's actually doing the implementation, like, they realize that, hey, your temperature is 20 degrees off. So what's going to happen? Let's say you're working in a process condition where you're so close to either the boiling temperature or the condensation temperature that you're actually having liquid in lines where it's supposed to be fully gas. How are you supposed to deal with that situation? And I think as a field engineer, you get the perfect balance of understanding the engineering design, how to simulate it in a program, but also going out in the field and seeing what happens in real life. So that was extremely valuable experience, and really eye-opening and humbling at times, because these guys who have just been working for so long under these conditions, who may not understand engineering drawings as well as I would, taught me so many lessons and were so patient with me. And I credit a lot of my career development to those guys, to the pipe fitters, to the electricians, to the foremen, to the superintendents who kind of handheld me through a lot of those work processes.
No, I agree with that. That's so true. So similar to me at PG&E, whenever I would go out in the field, work with the backhoe operator, work with the gas pipeline, work with the gas service rep, telling them about safety, telling them about how engineering works and why I think you should do this, a lot of them will not listen to you, especially when you come on as like a kid who is just fresh out of school. Tell me what to do. I've been doing my job for 40 years. You're the same age as my son. Exactly. Why would I listen to you? So I completely agree with that sentiment. But being in the field, you learn so much about everything. It's completely different from the office. And I think if you're in a business where you actually have to go to the field, you will learn so much. So I guess I recommend anyone who is in a job where it's engineering, where you have to go into the field, or it's like an electric or utility company, go in the field, learn about your company, learn about the product you're actually producing, and you'll become such a better employee in person from doing that. Similar to kind of what Ryan had to do, go into Montana, figure everything out for himself at such a young age. It was culture shock for him, but he was able to adapt, grow, and create and complete deadlines from his perspective.
Yeah, and like the other thing that really helped me, why I say like that was kind of the foundation of my career was, from that point, I started school at UCLA, right? So I was trying to pursue my MBA, try to get more into a management role. And so my next job was as a operations engineer at Air Products. So I went back to the company that I interned at, and over there, I was kind of the plant engineer. So I was in charge of 4 different hydrogen plants across Long Beach and like Torrance area, and that was supplying around 200 mega million scuffs. So it's kind of like enough hydrogen to supply all of the refineries down in the Long Beach area. And I kind of did a lot of maintenance management. So that's where I kind of got my first experience with SAP, right? So managing the maintenance plans, understanding, hey, these are the due dates, these are the preventative maintenance tasks that we need to do, these are the reactive maintenance tasks we need to do, kind of understanding the budget for every month, doing the billing. So it also played a little bit into account management, right? It's just understanding, hey, we got to invoice these people, have to track the demand, as well as our production, and be able to debottleneck anytime there's a rise in demand, especially during like some of the summer months compared to the winter months. So I think that was kind of really valuable experience in being able to it's almost like a continuation of the startup and commissioning, because once you start it up, my previous job, I started up, I'm done, I'm out. Whereas the operations engineer was more of like a process optimization, right? How do we get every single dollar of performance out of our plant? How do we get every single, percent purity of our product? And I think, the two definitely are related, but they complemented each other, and both were out in the field. So it was great to be able to get that exposure. And also, as a plant engineer, I managed several small capital projects, all the way from, bringing in contractors, sizing the equipment, to actually the installation and commissioning. So, that was also kind of nice to get that project management experience as well. And at the same time, when I was, going to school at UCLA. So, I was taking some of the principles that I learned in class, and then try to implement that in the workplace. Some of the leadership skills, some of the communication skills, the time management, project management, just monitoring deadlines, as well as, cash flow. Those are all some of the skills that I took from the classroom and applied into the workspace. And I think it was a great learning experience as well.
You mentioned, so there's a big thing Ryan mentioned there was SAP. In your work career, a lot of firms or a lot of companies will be using this software called SAP. Right now, SAP has kind of followed Ryan into his work at Accenture. Would you mind telling the audience what SAP is? And then let's transition into how you got your first role at Accenture.
Yeah, so SAP is an ERP, so it's an enterprise resource platform. So it kind of helps you manage, in my case, a lot of your manufacturing inventory, right? So right now, a big deal for most companies are digitizing a lot of their work processes. Instead of writing work orders by hand, you want to be able to log your defect into a computer, so everybody can kind of view and also remediate these defects, or understand, hey, like, what are my problem areas in my facility? So is the same pump breaking at a more frequent interval? So like, how are we operating this? Is this properly being operated? So it kind of gives you visibility and insight into your manufacturing facility's performance, right? As we become more data driven, it's incredibly important for a company to really understand their investments in their assets, and being able to understand how the performance over time either increases in terms of reliability or decreases because you don't have visibility to your equipment. Equipment downtime is actually one of the biggest contributing factors to operating costs for a company. So SAP is a platform that helps you manage that. A company that has a well integrated and well defined and used implemented SAP program could tell you exactly how much money they're losing in production, and they could tell you exactly when to replace a piece of equipment. They could tell you the asset strategy. So should it be, there's some equipment that you should run till failure, right? Because if you keep replacing the equipment, it's too expensive. So all of that value analysis can be done as long as you have the data to be able to access it. So that's where I kind of leveraged my experience in SAP as a user in the field into my role at Accenture, which is more as a practitioner, right? Understanding from the industry perspective how it works in industrial settings. And it can be, applied to utilities as well.
Yeah.
Life sciences, high tech, anything that kind of requires maintenance and reliability, these principles can all apply. And that's kind of what I learned in consulting, is that, my experience as a plant engineer, yes, I'm a hydrogen expert, but, I also have a lot of experience, translatable skills in asset management, right? I know what condition monitoring is. I know what, preventative maintenance is. And I know how to drive the behaviors and pull the levers that will help your organization achieve that.
Yeah.
And, it really, but for Accenture, it's such a big company and they have so many different clients and projects that it's also been a learning journey for me as well, right? I've been thrown into many different types of engagements for different industries, and just being able to learn kind of the intricacies and the details of each single industry at a very quick pace, and kind of becoming an expert in it has been a very big challenge, but it's also been extremely rewarding and exciting for me to work in such a fast-paced environment, right? Because when I was working at Air Products, I'm kind of working with the same assets. I have, hey, these 65 pumps are under my control and I know the exact condition for every single one of them. Well, in consulting, you can't really do that, right? Like, you're not being able, sometimes they don't even have data available. So you have to really make quick, decisive decisions based on the information that you do have. And I think that's what's been kind of the biggest challenge, but also the most rewarding experience at Accenture, is that fast-paced environment, helping out clients, listening to their problems, and being able to tailor-make a solution based on the industry leading principles.
That's a very good point. So the fascinating thing about consulting is that there's a wide kind of array of clients you'll be working with, right? So Accenture, they'll be working with a ton of clients, from, say, like your Alphabets, your Metas, all the way to clients like your Chevron or a railway transportation company. So you're going to have, as a consultant, you're going to be working with so many different clients, and you're going to need to ramp up really quickly. So can we go into, Ryan, how does Accenture select what client or project you'll be put on, And then how do you ramp up and learn everything about that client so you can come in and assist them with their processes?
So I would say Accenture actually is one of the only consulting firms that will basically take most projects. Anytime an organization wants to, have this digital transformation, Accenture is a big player in it, and that's kind of reflected upon Accenture doing business with, I think, somewhere around 95% of Fortune 200 companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some sort of business going on between Accenture and all of these large companies, and for us as consultants, we're the ones who are, typically in the execution roles, right? So our managers are typically the ones who understand the capabilities of the organization and sell to the clients,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the consultants are in charge of implementing and actually delivering the results. So I think for me, one of the things that really helped me, scale up and really build my expertise in an area is not only doing background research on your own time, but also utilizing your other resources within the company, because that's kind of one of the biggest benefits of Accenture, right? If you're a part of a 700,000 people company, there's going to be an expert, a subject matter expert somewhere in your organization, and that person, from my experience, has always been extremely helpful in terms of getting me up to speed on some of the industry best practices. For example, me working for a national railroad company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really know too much going into the project about how defect tracking works or what kind of important assets they have to take care of. But over time, reviewing project documentation, reviewing certain documents that have been handed over to us to the scope of work, as well as relying on some of the subject matter experts, you're able to communicate with the client day to day, and then be able to understand their pain points, and then kind of put yourself in their shoes, and then go into problem solving mode. And I think that's what has helped me scale up my knowledge the most, is come in with a learning mindset and be able to really listen. The most important skill for a consultant, at least in my opinion, is to be able to listen, because a consultant is trying to advise you or advise a company on how to improve your performance, but without listening to what the pain points are, you're not going to be able to solve your client's problems. So I think it's definitely not the most popular answer, but I think it's the most valuable skill that you need to have as a consultant.
No, and I completely agree with Ryan. So for me, at Alphabet, when I was reviewing the consultants to hire, because we're heavily focused on the data center projects, and we needed to create process flow approvals for Alphabet to spend like hundreds of millions of dollars on new land acquisition, and we needed a consultant's help. So we had a wide array of consultants, and we always selected Accenture because we reviewed the statement of work, SOW, and then we knew the caliber of consultant that we were getting within that project, and it's always kind of exceeded expectations. Like, we've worked with the BCG, we've worked with the McKinsey, the Bain, but then for me, every time I've worked with Accenture, 10 out of 10 exceeds expectations. So it's great to know people like Ryan, they'll learn something from their client by just having an open mind, coming in, interviewing them, and then being very open to helping them implement that, which is really big for kind of a role in consulting. For the people who want to get into consulting, Ryan, I know you have an MBA from UCLA. You have a great background in kind of business, engineering. What do you suggest for someone who's looking to make that transition to get into consulting? How do you think they should do that?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a wide variety of ways you can get into consulting, right? So, a lot of the undergrads who ask me, hey, like, how do you join a company like Accenture? There's a lot of analyst programs. So as a college grad, you can definitely pursue an internship at a consulting company, just kind of leverage your, business backgrounds, kind of just develop kind kind of craft a story about like why you want to do consulting, right? What kind of skills would you feel like is applicable for the role that you want? And just go for it, being really decisive, confident, and positive, and resilient as well. Just being an active listener. I think those are some of the skills that you can show, especially in your resume. Maybe some project management skills, as well as some leadership positions that that you can leverage into a consulting job. Or there's also specific industries that you may be interested in that you can be an expert in, and that's kind of my pathway towards Accenture was through learning a set of skills and trying to leverage that into a wider array of industries. So I would encourage anybody who wants to get into consulting, definitely it's not the most chill job. It's definitely sometimes a lot of long hours, hard work, lots of meetings, creating slide decks. So if that's kind of your cup of tea, and you have to be a very driven individual in order to be able to accomplish it, I would highly recommend you taking a look at it and understanding, or reaching out on LinkedIn, trying to connect with people at a firm, and understanding the type of projects that they do, and review your case studies, and that's how you'll get in.
So another question here for you. A lot of the viewers are kind of focused like on the tech side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking earlier, you mentioned you were a Scrum Master. Can you go over what a Scrum Master is and why it's important for your role, especially in consulting, now that a lot of companies are moving to progress the software side of things, especially in the advent of AI?
Yeah, definitely. So as a Scrum Master, you're kind of the PMO, the project management lead for a software development, right? So for example, I manage my team of developers in Jira, right? So every sprint, because we're working in an agile methodology, so every sprint is 2 weeks, and we have a defined set of user stories, which are almost like functionalities of a software platform that we're trying to develop and build. So these user stories are assigned to a developer, and we'll have daily calls to check in on if there's any roadblocks, if there's any refinement that's needed on what kind of capability we're trying to develop. And over the course of the 2 weeks, we're trying to track progress, and then at the end we do a review, like a retrospective, to be able to share lessons learned, understand the work that we've accomplished, and be able to track what we're going to be doing the next sprint. So I think it's a very common methodology that's being used by many companies, especially on the software and tech side. And it's honestly been a learning experience for me as well. And the reason why I thought, I think, I was chosen for this role is because I understand the functional side, right? I understand what functionalities that this company wants to develop for their apps, because I understand asset management. So that's why the developers are, they're really great at coding and making things happen on a software platform, whereas I'm, as a project management lead, supposed to oversee the kind of, are we developing the right features for the platform? So yeah, that's kind of my job in a nutshell.
No, that's awesome, man. So that was some great advice, guys. So if you're very curious about consulting, Ryan has a tremendous amount of experience with consulting, with regards to how to get in the industry, what he actually does, kind of transitioning to Scrum Master now that software is such a huge part of the industry itself, especially as AI is kind of becoming the advent of things. So Ryan, we're going to actually move into the fun part of the interview. Okay. I stole this from Paul George himself, Mr. Podcast P. I'm a huge fan of basketball, as you know. Ryan's a big basketball fan too, and you're a UCLA Bruin. So we're going to draft our top 5 UCLA Bruins So basically, I need you to pick 5 UCLA Bruins on the basketball team. I'll pick 5, and then we're gonna ask the audience who has the best top 5 for UCLA basketball. So with you being the guest, I want you to begin your first pick and take your time. I know we have a lot of greats out who walked through the walls of Westwood.
First pick, Kareem.
Oh, I was gonna
Kareem
take
Abdul-Jabbar. No questions asked. I got the cap.
The Cap, all-time leader in points in the NBA before Mr. LeBron himself took it over. So shout out to Cap. So he's got Cap. I've got to get someone to defend Cap. So I'm gonna go with Mr. Bill Walton.
Bill
Thrill Walton.
No, I love Bill. Bill is one of the funniest commentators on the Pac-12 network. Okay. Next, I'm gonna go. Let's see. I need some perimeter scoring, and I need a lethal shooter. So I'm going with Reggie Miller.
Oh, Reggie's a good one.
Reggie.
Oh.
Reggie's running my 2.
Reggie's running his 2. So he's got Reggie. Reggie's a deadly scorer. One of UCLA's best, if not probably UCLA's best shooter.
Reggie's
and I gotta shut down Reggie. So I'm gonna go with Drew Holiday.
Okay.
Drew's
nice.
Doing his thing in Boston now. So we'll see how it goes. And he can just lock up Reggie.
Okay. All right. Well, to complement Kareem, I'm going to need another skilled big who can rebound and shoot. And I'm going with Kevin Love.
Oh, Kevin Love's a good one.
K-Love. That's my guy.
NBA champion with the Cavs.
Cavs, man.
Yeah, and he's
still rocking it right now. Still playing.
In Miami, he's got that Miami physique now because he has to maintain 8-9%, I think.
Double machine, sweet stroke. Man, I got a deadly front court, man.
Yeah, deadly front court. So he's got good front court. I actually want to build out the back court now that I have Drew. I have a Westwood legend himself. I think he's going to come back and do really well. If not this year, next year, I go with my boy Lonzo.
Lonzo
Ball.
Okay. I mean, that team was extremely exciting. But my point guard pick is, I would say, more exciting. And I'm going with my boy BD. Baron Davis.
Baron Davis is a good one.
Davis, one of the most entertaining players I've ever seen. Everybody's seen that highlight from the We Believe Warriors when he dunked on Karolinko. That was just one of the most hype moments in basketball that I've ever watched. So that's
a good one.
That's my guy, BD.
Yeah.
BD.
BD is a good one. So he's got BD. I want to go a little bit more recent with Kevin Love's teammate, aka new teammate, a legend of Westwood, Jaime Jaquez Jr., straight from UCLA. So he's going to do well this year. I'm really excited. I think he's a 6'9", small forward, power forward. He can probably lock up K-Love and give him a run for his money. So we're going with Jaime.
Okay. And my final pick, I'm going with, kind of that same exciting theme. We're going to be putting on a lot of highlights. And I'm going with my boy. He was in school at the same time I was. He's a dunk champion, Zach LaVine.
Oh, Zach is a good one.
Zach LaVine is cold,
Zach
man.
was a monster. So did you see him dunk? When
he was practicing at Wooden at 11 p.m. every day.
So he was grinding.
He was grinding. Oh yeah. I mean, I was playing. I was just playing pickup, and he and his boy were out there practicing like almost every day. So I could tell that he was a skinny guy in college, but I could tell. By the end of it, he had the work ethic necessary to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, much respect, shout out, Zach LaVine.
That's crazy. So Zach was like 18.
Yeah.
He's one and done, and he had that drive and that mindset to make it to the league so young.
He was
crazy.
workout warrior, man. He was putting up shots all night till the gym closed.
He's gonna do real well. That's a great pick. For me, my last pick, I know he's out in Utah right now in the summer league team. I know he's gonna do good. I got to shout out to my Asian brother, Johnny Zuzang. I have his jersey. I know Johnny's. He was a transfer actually from Harvard, right?
No, he went to Kentucky.
Kentucky. Went to Kentucky.
And then came home after COVID. Johnny's cold, man. Johnny's carried us into the Final Four run.
Yeah.
That was one of the most exciting times at UCLA basketball, man. Like, I love that team. That was a great team.
Yeah. Johnny was out there with Jaime.
Tiger Campbell.
Tiger, yeah. Oof, that's a
Yeah.
great team, man. So yeah, that was our top 5. Let us know in the comments who won. I have a feeling Ryan probably
Yeah,
won.
I know I won. I'm double Bruin, so
Double
I
Bruin.
gotta know all the
He
UCLA
knows all the
players,
UCLA
man.
guys. My team is all the culture team, so
Hey,
we
he's got
gotta
a
do
good
it for the
team. Hey,
culture.
I like his team too.
Ryan, last question before we let you go. Amazing interview. Just want to say thank you so much. You have a great team you just drafted.
Thank you.
And we learned so much about consulting. I think you're going to help a lot of people who always want to get in that industry. And you're kind of demystifying it, right? Letting everyone know what you actually do, how to get in. Can you leave our audience with one last piece of advice that you would give to yourself or just give to anyone going forward?
Yeah, I would say, at the time when I, started business school, I felt extremely limited in my career options. And, kind of with 6-7 years of experience in an industry, I felt a little bit like, oh, there's no mobility. So the advice that I would give to myself back in the day and to all the listeners here is, don't ever limit yourself.
Yeah.
There's always chances for you to do something else. There's always new opportunities to learn as long as you have a growth mindset, and be able to, listen and pick up skills and find something interesting. I found that, a passion in something can really carry you no matter, what your limitations, what you feel like your limitations are. The human mind is, or people are just a lot more capable than they give themselves credit for. So don't ever limit yourself. Always think positively and have a growth mindset.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Always think positively, have a growth mindset, and never limit yourself. This man is an example of that himself. So with that being said, Jello family, I want to say thank you guys for taking time. We'll leave Ryan's contact below if you ever want to reach out to him, figure out kind of more about management consulting or more about business school itself. This is a guy to ask. With that being said, like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate you, and we'll catch you later, Jello family. Peace.
Peace.